9. The Savior Returns. Written by Celestial Rainstorm. Narrated by AJ the Elementalgod. Chapter 15. The Honor Room. Meanwhile, the spy machine was patrolling around the citadel, snarling to itself, waiting impatiently for the cat beast to return with the prey the fabrication machine needed. The beast had taken so long, it shouldn't have been delayed. The spy machine looked up to the horizon, hearing the sound of groaning mechanical limbs. It must have brought back the little rag dolls that possessed the scientist's soul. Their souls would be good for the master, for the master needed power. The 9 parts of the scientist's spirit were strong and powerful. The spy machine snarled loudly as it spotted, not the cat beast, but a seeker, gliding toward it. In its spindly claws, it bore the dead body of the beast. Its limp body sparked weakly. A large hole punctured through its chest. The seeker dropped the body before the spy machine. Its bristled spines scraped against one another. A growl rose in its mechanical throat. Before the seeker could do anything, it brought its claws toward the dwindling little body. It fell to the ground with a loud clang. Eyes faded out. The remaining seekers came forward out of the commotion. The spy machine, still in rage, reared up and speared its claws, ripping the rest of the seekers to shreds. Soon, they all lay in a pile of shredded fabric, snapped mechanical body parts. Then the spy machine looked over at the cat beast. It was too heavily damaged to attempt to repair. The beast's central power system was completely destroyed. There was no way the spy machine could bring it back this time. Snorting in frustration, it grabbed any parts it could from the cat beast's body, limbs dangling and wires tangled together. The fabric machine looked up from the mech walker. It was rebuilding as the spy machine walked back into the citadel. It dropped the cat beast. The machine roared in irritation at those little vermin. How long it had been foiled by things that were a mere 9.5 inches high. So easily torn, so easily killed. The machine looked all around the clock tower, knowing it needed something to replace the cat beast. It picked up a long dented gas canister. Using what it could salvage from the beast's body, it expertly drilled, welded, sawed, and was mere hours before the machine had created a new monster. The beast had a low-lunged, sturdy, metallic body. Its beak was razor-sharp, as were its long, dexterous talons. Its gigantic wings were near silent, made from the tapestry that was found in the citadel. As the final touch, the fabric machine attached the blowtorch to the inside of the new creation's chest, sealing it shut with a metal plate. A single eye attached to the left side of its flat face flickered, then glowing bright red as a screech echoed through the citadel. Meanwhile, a few miles away from the citadel and the machines, the Spitchpunks were led into the old library by the twins. They entered through the courtyard in the back, keeping a keen eye out for the machines. 9 looked around, glancing at the once beautiful architecture of the library. Towering statues of angels stood eerily over them, desolate and silent. Their stone wings were crumbled, their faces deteriorating sadly. He closed his eyes and memories rushed through him. 2 lying dead at his feet, 7 being taken by the seamstress. He opened his eye when he felt 5 take his shoulder in concern. He patted his hand as they continued forward. 9 looked up as the twins' eyes flickered to get their friend's attention. They gestured before them, pointing to a large crumbling structure that had collapsed long ago. Following the back of the library, leaning against it, a large plane was lodged so far into it, only the tip of its tail hung out. 9 figured that this plane had been part of the squadron that had been shot down during the war. One of its comrades crashed into what was once the Cartridal. It completely blocked the back entrance to the library. However, this didn't deter the twins. They spend a fair part of their lives scheduled in this library, or secluded in this library. They knew exactly where to lead the others. Walking forward, they squeezed themselves through a gap in the debris before waving the others forward. Turning the bulb in its socket, 9 held the light staff before him as he followed the younger ragdolls through the destroyed building. Looking up, he saw the 2 were scrambling up towards the roof, scaling huge chunks of concrete and wood easily. 7 was close behind them, leaping from one ledge to the next and climbing up the craggy side of the building with little effort. The others followed, a little slower and more hesitant, but soon they all made it to the collapsed roof, standing together on the splintering buttress. The tail of the plane cut across the path before them. It hung precariously over the extremely large, deep hollow a bomb had made in the ground. Creaking softly, half of the plane was gone, and dormant cables lay out. Burnt pages of books lay scattered around, the ground below uneven and rocky. Books filled the huge hollow far below them. The twins hardly acknowledged this as they gracefully led their clan around the plane. The 7 others followed the twins across the curved buttress before they entered the back of the library, through a hole in the roof. They walked through the maze of books and broken bookcases as they approached the globe the twins had lived in. The elevator they had made long ago was still there. They brushed some of the fallen pages and dust off it and hopped on, giving an encouraging wave to the others. One lingered behind, watching incredulously as the others climbed onto the contraption, which creaked and wobbled slightly. He placed a hand on the apparatus as 9 and 5 heaved 2 onto the platform. The zippered male then crouched down and offered a hand to 1. The leader reached for it slowly, then shoved it aside as he climbed on himself. 9 sighed. It was a little bit of a tight squeeze as they all climbed onto the elevator. 9 felt his cheeks burn when 8 shouldered him into 7. 3 pushed the lever on the elevator, lurched slightly before all 9 stitch punks were carried onto the award room, far above their heads. Now, he said something about a box with a tree on it, right, 6? 9 asked him, and he nodded. Yes, you'll find the answer inside, he said, obviously sensing the place's hidden secrets. The 9 rat dolls reached a large shelf that led to the other shelves. They split up, looking through the rubble and burned books and awards. Everyone looked around any sort of little box that could have belonged to the scientists. The twins jumped from one place to another, scanning through everything they documented. 2 was studying a large plaque propped against the back of the shelf, trying to see if it held any answers. Suddenly, as the light from the staff passed, a shadow leapt up on the wall from behind the plaque. 9, wait! Hold the light there, 2 said over his shoulder. The younger turned to 2's instructions, holding the life staff towards the plaque. With a grunt, the inventor shoved it to the side. A small wooden chest appeared. On top of the lid, there was an ornate, beautiful carving of a tree. Underneath it, there were re-engraved symbols, the symbols of the talisman. Everyone, over here! I think we found it! he called, waving them over. The rest of the clan came to the shelves and crowded alongside the box. This has to be it. It has the tree and the symbols from the talisman, 5 said, trancing one of the inscriptions. Well, how are we supposed to open it? A complete waste of time, then, like I said. Damn it! One growled, crossing his arms and turned away from the chest. 9 looked doubtful at the keyhole in the box. He studied it, reached forward, tracing the keyhole, suddenly realizing he turned towards 6. Wait, 9 said. 6, may I borrow your key? He asked him kindly, knowing that for some reason the seer was very protective of his key. 6, however, blinked at him and without hesitation clutched the side of the key. He pulled with a clear click and the ring separated. It slid easily off his neck. 6 took in both his hands and handed it to 9, as if he knew to do this all along. Thank you, he said, and 6 silently nodded. Stepping back, 9 kneeled before the box and fitted the key into a small hole. It fit perfectly. He turned it, and the box immediately sprang open, making many of them jump. 9 picked up the light staff and held it towards the chest. Inside there was nothing but 2 scraps of paper. He picked up the first and examined it, while 1 scoffed. Greetings, everyone, 9 read aloud. However many of you have lived to see this horrible day, I wrote this purely if the machine of my colleague's design survived. You have laid sight upon it. My colleague wished to create machines for war. His heart was with our Chancellor, and he always spoke about taking over the rest of our country, and eventually the rest of the world. He wanted us to be a superior race of humanity, and yet his plan failed when I refused to help him. A great rift formed between us, and the day my creation scarred his face, we became enemies. Soon I learned about the machine he created, while I was creating my own. After the war began, I went into hiding and created each of you over the course of 2 years. If you have found this, then this machine has come. I have meant for one of you to find the talisman and keep it safe, for the machine will take it and wake the fabrication machine. But beware, this is only one way to kill the machine of my enemy. If you have seen it, its power source, then it should come to you. An adversary may find this, so it's up to you to find out. You shall find this with the help of one to lead you all. Best of luck and hope to each of you. He finished looking back at the box. Reaching in, he picked up the second piece of paper. On the paper there were 3 symbols. Were drawn, and next to them were 3 words. Through the heart. Through the heart? One repeated scornfully, after 9 finished reading. What an utter waste of time. It doesn't explain how to kill it. It just says what we already know. He cast a loathsome glance at 9, who was staring the paper intently. It does say how to kill it. We just aren't seeing it, he whispered. 5 peered over his shoulder at the paper. He's right. Through the heart. That's how you destroy it, he said to 1. The machine base has some sort of power source in its chest, right? 7 asked 9, who nodded, then pierced through it, then pieced it together. You're right. It has to be the heart, the unstick sponge said quietly, and 7 nodded. We have to go to its power source, the orb, he said, thinking rapidly. Go through it? What does that mean? 5 asked 9, blinking, still rapidly thinking it all through, putting each piece together. The puzzle was now forming a picture. Through it, he said softly. That's it! Through the orb, listen. It became very weak when it split its heart in half. If we get the talisman back, the machine beast will have to split it again and give it to the machine. The machine beast will be weak, and we can destroy it in the fabrication machine, he said to the group. But what about through the orb? One asked, still cynical. We had to pierce it. Go through the orb. It will be easiest once it's separate, 9 replied. The others still looked at one another. Pierce it? We have to stab it in the heart, 5 asked, eyes wide, and 9 nodded grimly. Yes, that's the only way we can truly kill it, he answered. He knew that this was what they must do to complete their mission. You're asking us to fight these things ourselves? We could be killed! One growled at him, his fist tightened on his staff. 9 sighed, turning to the older man. One, we're in a war. Every waking second, there's a chance that we will be killed. But now we found an answer. This will lead us to freedom in some way. I can feel it. We need to follow this path, or else we all will die. One was silent, glaring at the young man with silent fury. 9 stood, unflinchingly. The leader's anger did not have any effect on him any longer. It was within his heart that he was born to lead, as well as he knew this path was right, to take them all to freedom. This could work, 5 said, breaking the tense silence, peering at the 2 pieces of paper of 9's hands. Come on. We gotta do this before it creates a whole army of machines, 7 said, jumping to her feet, knocking down her skullment with her spear and leading the group away from the box and back to the library. 9 stayed behind, putting the 2 pieces of paper in his chest. He touched the box one last time, closing it before turning away. He caught up to 6, gently tapping his shoulder. The seer turned around, and 9 held out the iron key to him, who took it in his hands gently. He looked up at 9, who gave him a smile and gestured for him to catch up with the rest of the group. 6 still walked slowly, staring at the number on 9's back, as he walked next to the female ragdoll, who spoke softly of him. It had been quite a while since he's been treated so kindly, so gently. He couldn't help it, and he was unable to tell anyone how much he hated it, the visions of fire and death all around him. Within his dreams, he hated the voices that whispered him, tortured his mind every waking moment. But 9 understood. Suddenly, the group in front of him disappeared, and was replaced by fire. So much fire, upon the aluminum ground. He heard a screeching, a loud screech, and cold metal seized him. He couldn't breathe. At that moment, something circled the library on near silent wings. End of chapter 15.